Good news! Tekking101. I can finally pay you actual money! For those of you that don't know, up until this point, Barry's paycheck has mostly consisted of M&Ms, peanut butter M&Ms. One time I was even able to afford the special dark purple M&Ms for him, but that was like a special Christmas treat. I think one time I gave him a Twix. It was like half a Twix. But no, I have actual money. I can pay him now, okay? You ready for this, Barry? Check it out. Yeah, here you go, buddy. Actual, authentic leprechaun gold, straight from the Emerald Isles of Old Barry. Okay, so hey everybody, how you doing? I know, right? Barry is rich. We're going yachting tonight. Okay. So today's video, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be all about the heavenly tribute of the Tenryubito, or the Celestial Dragons, or the World Nobles, whatever you want to call them, really. They're all dicks, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, by the way, while I'm on the subject of that, last night, okay, the process for how I make my videos is, I make a video, like, in the morning, usually. It's like 11 o'clock right now, okay? And then I go the rest of my day, and then I'm a night owl, so I usually stay up until, like, 1 or 2 a.m. So, usually around, you know, late at night, around to, like, 11 or midnight, I'll start to think of what the next day's videos will be, and I'll sit down and I'll, you know, grab all the images I need for it. And so last night, it was like 1 o'clock, and I'm pulling all these images for the World Nobles for the video today, and I'm just looking at them, and I'm just like, I'm tired, and I'm just like, why are all their hairstyles like dicks? Why are they like that? I'm guessing it's a symbolic thing on Oda's part, like, the World Nobles are dicks, so their hairs are like, okay. But do they actually go into, like a hair salon in Marijois and just like, oh, yes, hello there, Bonnable, I would like my hair to be even more stylish than last month. You know, is it, like, different scales? Like, the taller it is, the more status you have in the Celestial Dragon world? I don't know, but it was just weirding me out, so I just went to bed. Okay. But anyway, no, so the heavenly tribute. This was mentioned a few times in One Piece, so I did a little bit of reading up on all the stuff that we know about it. Essentially what it is, it's the tax that the World Nobles oppose on, well, the rest of the world. It's the world government. Now, even though it is the world government, they don't control every single solitary country in the entire world, and the reason for that is actually twofold, okay? We were led to believe normally it's like the people that didn't decide to join the world government, that's because they were taking a firm stance. Like, we don't want that to be part of our kingdom. We want to have our sovereignty. We want to be able to do whatever we want. Yeah, there are countries that are like that like outright refuse protection from the world government, because if you're not allied with the world government, then the Marines will not come and help your island. So if you're not allied and pirates attack your island and they're burning it down, even if you, like, petition the Marines to come help you, they won't help you because you're not a member of the allied nations of the world government. They're like, we don't care about you, right? So that's like Wano, for instance. Like, Wano has enough, you know, battle power and resources and money. They have enough of that in their little isolated land of Wano Kuni that they don't need the protection of the world government, okay? So they actually reject it, or at least Orochi does. Orochi rebukes it. I'm sure the world government has been trying for centuries to try to get into Wano through Sukiyaki and Sukiyaki's predecessor, his father, you know, through the Kozuki clan. The Kozuki clan, remember, were the ones that actually shut it down, like locked it in, isolated it from the rest of the world, right? So, yeah, that's the situation with Wano, but that's kind of an exception. There's probably a few other nations in the world that, like, actively decide, like, no, we don't want this. But the vast majority of nations that are not allied with the world government are not allied with them simply because they're too poor. They can't afford the heavenly tribute, and if you can't pay the cash, then you're out with the trash. That's some words of wisdom from Arlong, the saw-toothed shark fishman, who I always thought was a swordfish, because his nose kind of looked like a swordfish. So yeah, it's a very, very brutal tax. The world nobles, because they're the descendants of the original founders of the world government, I guess just get it in their heads that, like, hey, my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather founded the world government. Well, okay, in the perspective of the world nobles, they might actually think that, yeah, we found the world! The world wouldn't be here if it wasn't for us, because they're very, very arrogant. But they think of that logic and be like, you know, my ancestor founded the world government, so therefore I deserve all the money! So yeah, to them it doesn't matter, okay? And remember, all of the money that comes into like the Marines and like government funding, that usually filters down from the Tenryubito. And that's one of the reasons why, like, because the Tenryubito kind of hold like the vast majority of all the wealth in the One Piece world, you know, by an order of magnitude. The only other people that would probably come comparable is like other Yonko that have like gathered a lot of treasure and stuff, like Big Mom, Kaido. They might be sitting on enough treasure in their respective lands, like Wano and Totland. But for the most part, the vast amount of wealth that exists in the world is all in the hands of the Celestial Dragons up in Marijua in the Celestial Dragon City. Okay, it's all there. So if the government needs more funding or something, they have to go to the Celestial Dragons. If the Marines need a new fleet of battleships, well, the Marines would go to the world government, and the world government would go to the Tenryubito. Okay, so they control all the wealth, and so that's why they kind of just let them do whatever they want. You know, it's just like, well, they have all the money, so if they want to walk through town and just haphazardly shoot people or just take people as wives off the street, it's like, yeah, that's cool. We have to let them do it because they're the world government. They're the world nobles. They control the world government. They control pretty much everything, right? So, what exactly is the heavenly tribute, though? That was the question I was trying to look into, like trying to see, like, okay, is it like it's definitely involving berries, like money. But I'm imagining there's other ways that you could probably pay it. So let's just look at the berry aspect first. So it's either a percentage, I guess, of a certain kingdom's, like, overall funding, like how much they make, you know, so you have a kingdom with a king, and you have all the different, like, people that live in said kingdom that are farmers or artisans or merchants, and there's all this money being generated in a single kingdom, like Alabasta or Dressrosa or something, and so then you have, like, kind of like the GDP of that one particular country, okay? So it's either a percentage, and if it is a percentage, it's an insane percentage. It's either a 50-50 or even unfair than that, where the world government shows up and is like, all right, we demand 60% of your total funds, and if you don't give us it, then we're just going to kick you out of the world government. We kick you out of the world government, you won't have marine protection, and we don't care. So give us all the money, give us 60, give us 70%, we don't care. Now, it might be something ridiculous like that. Now, obviously, that would be an absurd tax rate in our world, but it's like, it's One Piece, you know, and it's like, Oda really kind of dials it up to like 12 in this one particular instance, where it's like, no, this is truly like an insane kind of situation that the world has found itself in with these world nobles. So it's either a percentage, or what might be more likely is a flat rate just tax, where it's like every country, no matter the size, no matter how much their GDP is, how much money they generate or whatever, it doesn't matter. They have to pay the exact same amount. Say every nation has to fork over 1 billion berries. I'm guessing it's every year for the Heavenly Tribute, you know, so every year they hand over the Heavenly Tribute and then they, you know, carry it off to Marijua. I'm guessing it's a yearly kind of tax sort of thing. So let's say 1 or 2 billion berries that each country has to fork over. And if they don't have it, then, you know, they just get kicked out immediately. Or there's some nations that are so poor, they can't even muster, like, even with the entire country working together, they don't even have close to that much. I was trying to figure out the exact number, and we don't know. The closest thing we have to kind of work here is when, remember when Doflamingo first arrived in Dressrosa, and he confronted King Riku Dole III? If you don't remember that, there was this moment where Riku Dole III was just sleeping in his bedchamber, and then Doflamingo just shows up at his window one night, out of nowhere, and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna take this kingdom away from you now. I could do that whenever I wanted, because I have enough power to do so, but I'm a nice guy, so how about this? If you can give me, if you can give me 10 billion berry, I will sell this kingdom back to you, because it's my ancestors' kingdom. I essentially already own it, and I have enough power to take it away from you right now. So I want you to consider that I've already taken your kingdom away from you, King Riku Dole III, but if you give me 10 billion berry, I will sell it back to you post-haste. Alright, now obviously Doflamingo had no plans. Even if somehow King Riku could get to 10 billion, he would probably take the money, but, you know, he wouldn't give him back the kingdom, right? Because that's just Doflamingo. He's also kind of a dick. But anyway, the idea of a 10 billion berry price for the country of Dressrosa, that was something that King Riku was like blown away by. He was just like, 10 billion? But we don't have that amount of money. Now keep in mind, Riku is a king of a rather large kingdom. You know, Dressrosa was pretty sizable for the New World and everything like that, and had a bunch of different towns and a lot of citizens living there, okay? Now, I'm assuming because King Riku was such a noble king, and he cared genuinely about his subjects, he probably wasn't talking about all of the collective money on the entire island. He was probably just talking about, like, personally what they had in, like, the kingdom's, like, coffers. Like, what they had in the personal treasury of Dressrosa Castle. You know, that's probably what he was referring to. And he's like, 10 billion? We don't even have nearly that much. Now, what he did end up doing is because he didn't want to get into a fight with the Doflamingo family, because King Riku really didn't want to shed blood here, he decided, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go throughout the kingdom, send word throughout the kingdom, all the towns in the land, and ask them to give us all their money. And I'll have to explain this to them later, and I'll have to figure out some way to make it up to them, but if we don't do this, then the country's going to fall in the hands of freaking pirates, and I'm not going to allow that as the king. So, even though they themselves, the kingdom, the treasury, did not have 10 billion, King Riku did think it was feasible, it was possible to get 10 billion together. If they took all the money from every private citizen in Dressrosa, they could maybe, you know, inch by. And even then, that was kind of a tight squeeze there. So let's just assume, for a very large kingdom like Dressrosa, with a pretty kind king like King Riku, that didn't, like, tax his citizens unnecessarily, that took, like, probably enough to have in the treasury, but beyond that, he was a very good king. In that situation, the maximum amount of money that that island could have, with every citizen pulling their funds together, 10 billion. So let's put that as, like, the absolute maximum. Also, I kind of messed something up. I think yesterday when I was doing the Return to Reverie, I think I said that the highest amount of money we saw in One Piece is 10 billion for the Oppi Oppi no Mi. I think I'm just confusing that with this. I think the Oppi Oppi no Mi was going to be sold for 5 billion, and this amount right here, the 10 billion for Dressrosa that Doflamingo brought up, that would have been the highest amount of money ever referenced in One Piece. Okay, so, you know, let's say that was like the absolute maximum, okay? But under normal circumstances, let's say half that. So let's say maybe the Kingdom of Dressrosa, like the treasury with all the treasure and stuff that they had in the coffers, let's say, I don't know, 4 or 5 billion maximum. Might even be less than that, because King Riku was pretty kind. So he probably helped out the people a lot if they needed it, right? Maybe if you had another cruel, oppressive king like Wapol, or like Seki, who was the king of the Elusia Kingdom, that vampire dude. Blah, I'm a vampire! You know, that guy. Maybe they take way more money. They definitely take way more taxes from the people, so maybe they had a little bit more in their kingdoms. But like 10 billion for a very large island and country, that's like the maximum, okay? So for these countries to still be active and still be able to do stuff, the Heavenly Tribute would have to be way less than that, obviously. So I'm gonna say 1 or 2 billion, honestly, for the Heavenly Tribute. And just, like, give us 1 billion every year, and then you have a whole year to build up your money again, and then next year we want another billion, and if you ever slip up, well, let's talk about that. Because the world government, you have to understand, like, they pretty much can do whatever they want, whenever they want. There's kind of a pretense of, like, okay, we're gonna follow the basic structure of the law that we ourselves set, but it's also been very apparent that whenever they want to step outside their own laws and they want to do whatever they want, they can kind of do that, and no one's really gonna stop them, because once again, they're a world government. If they wanted to, you know, storm an island that wasn't allied with them and mine all the gold on that island, they could do that very easily. Even Wano, you'd figure if the world government mobilized like an entire fleet of battleships and just Buster called the shit out of Wano, they could do that. They would be met with opposition, especially with Kaido and everybody being there, but they have enough raw power that they could do that. They would just be into a really big fight because they would be up against Kaido. But what happens after Kaido and Big Mom are defeated at the end of the Onigashima battle? What happens then? The world government might show up and be like, this is our prime opportunity to take this country over, finally. I'm assuming the countries that are not allied because they're too poor, there's really nothing that that country has that the world government wants. It's like they don't have enough money, their crops, their soil are crap, and they probably don't even have any valuable minerals there, so screw them, we don't care. We could take them over whenever we want, but there's nothing they have that we need. So, you know, so I'm assuming that if they're a little short on the money, the world government takes food that they produce. Maybe if the island has a certain specialty, you know, because all the different islands in the One Piece world, especially in the Grand Line, different weather patterns and stuff. So you might have like a rare kind of turnip that only grows on this one particular island. So the world government's like, well, you can't, you know, provide, you're a little short for the Heavenly Tribute, but if you give us your entire rare super turnip harvest for this year, then we'll call it even. You know, maybe something like that. You know, valuable goods in that respect. obviously minerals like gold and other rare metals, platinum, or like, gems or rubies, sapphires that can be mined in the island. If they're a little bit short there, I'm sure they would take compensation in that way, because we see how the world nobles are. They are awash in just abject luxury, gems, gold, diamonds, like pretty much everywhere. So yeah, their whole city basically gleams a mighty gold. So basically, yeah, they would take anything they could if it meant like increasing their decadence, so they don't really mind about that. But there was another thing I thought about, like, okay, if they can't afford the money, if they can't afford, like, there's no valuable resources on the island otherwise, or crops or anything, maybe the world government could take over part of the country. Like, so let's say the people of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good island for an example here. Punk Hazard wouldn't be a good example. Let's just use Alabasta, because Alabasta was allied with the world government. Let's say for whatever reason, one particular year, Alabasta could not pay the the tax, the heavenly tribute, and also their country is all desert, so growing crops there would be kind of, it's very difficult on Alabasta. So let's say maybe as a compensation for that, the world government decides to take over part of Alabasta and set up like government bases on the island, or like a marine base there or something, and be like, all right, we'll take this as compensation. You got to give us a certain percentage of your land, and we control that land. You're not the king of that one particular section. We're like annexing part of your country because you couldn't afford it, and if this happens again, until we just either take over your country or we're just decide it's not worth it and we just kick you out. The Alabasta is a little different, though, because of the fact that Nefertari family rules over it, and the Nefertari family is originally one of the families that founded the world government, but then they left. They chose not to live in Marijois. So they're kind of, like, if they would have stayed in Marijois, they would be considered world nobles, but they didn't. So by blood, they are, but they're not. You know what I mean? So technically, like, all that's changing Vivi from being a world noble to not being one, to just being a normal princess, is the location where her family ended up living. If her family ended up staying in Marijois, Vivi would be a world noble right now, okay? But yeah, that's the situation with the heavenly tribute. It's pretty rough for a lot of countries, very, very rough. And in that fan chapter I read yesterday, Return to Reverie, that Artur and Gemini made, Dragon brings up a really good point to all the kings at Reverie. He's just like, hey, this is bullcrap. They control all the wealth. Even you kings that are like selfish, like Wapple, it's just like, if you fight against the Tenryubito, if we get them out of power, then at least you get to keep the heavenly tribute for yourselves. So it's like, what's with this system that we have? It's all broken up. Also, the heavenly tribute, I think, is more to the celestial dragons than just an amount of money. It's more than just a paycheck, because think about this. When Riku Dole III was talking to Doflamingo in that exchange when he was at the window, and I feel so bad for King Riku. I really genuinely do, because think about this. He just goes to bed. It's just a normal night in Dressrosa. Nothing crazy's going on. He gets in his kingly pajamas, sits in his bed, and then all of a sudden he wakes up and Doflamingo's at his window and he's like, yeah, I'm taking over your country. Suck it, king. You'll be slaughtering your own subjects against your will by the end of tonight. I was like, damn. But anyway, Riku had heard of Doflamingo before this. He's like, I know who you are. You're that pirate, Don Quixote Doflamingo. You've been attacking those world government transport ships. So what happened was, you know how Doflamingo became a warlord? He actually ransomed the Tenryubito's heavenly tributes. He would be targeting vessels that would transport these heavenly tributes from their countries of origin to Marijois, to the world nobles. Doflamingo and his pirates would attack those ships, take the money hostage, and then he would, contact the world nobles and be like, if you want this... Hold on a second. I have... Yep. Yeah, freaking world nobles, if you want to see this money again, you'll come to the pier at sundown and, you'll make me with a warlord title in hand. So yeah, that's essentially how he did it, right? The money in that capacity, it meant so much to the world nobles that they were willing to make Doflamingo a warlord. Doflamingo, who is an ex-celestial dragon himself, and he has this whole thing. He knows stuff about the world government that would make them cringe, And so just like, oh, I've stolen, but you kind of keep in mind here that the world nobles are already so rich, it's just ridiculous. It's just insane how much money they have, right? So I don't know how many of these transport ships that Doflamingo attacked. I don't know how much money that he got from attacking these heavenly tribute ships, but you'd think that even if it was like a couple of tributes, the world government, the nobles, would still have way more money in their vaults, right, that they have saved up. But it doesn't matter. Even this one donation, like, oh, this 1 billion berry, that's a lot of money, but not really to the world nobles too much. You know, this 1 billion transport ship is being attacked by Doflamingo, and he'll only give us it back if we make him a warlord. Well, I guess we have no choice. Our arms are tied. We gotta make him a warlord, right? And even Doflamingo was like, man, yeah, the world government, they really don't know what to do with me, do they? You know? So the world nobles care that much about the tributes. Maybe they don't want to set a precedent of, like, you know, that's like one of the absolute ironclad laws of the world. Like, the world government will receive their heavenly tribute. Come hell or high water, rain or shine or snow or sleet, doesn't matter. You will ship this to Marijois, and it will get there, and we will receive the money that we are. So maybe they're just so damn arrogant and deluded, and they think of themselves quite literally as gods on high, that the very idea of them not receiving, like, a single payment would just be terrifying to them. Like, what? You mean this kingdom can only afford 999,999,999 berries? Duh! Not good enough! Buster, call it! You know, like, the idea that they lacked, like, one payment would be so, like, devastating to their ego. They were, like, willing to do anything. Oh! Like, you can imagine Charlos being like, oh, Daddy, that Flamingo man has all of our money! I mean, I know we have an entire vault filled with more money, but Daddy, he's taking our money! He's like, it's okay, son, we'll do whatever we have to in order to get our money back. Oh, thank you, Papa! And you know what? This actually gets way more disgusting when you look and see how the world nobles actually spend this money. Okay, now we don't have like a full, like, you know, shopping list of everything the world nobles do, you know, but we do know that when they were at the auction house at Sabaody, St. Charlos was willing to pay 500 million berries for Kami. Okay? Because he really wanted a mermaid. I want a mermaid, Daddy! You know what he was planning on doing with Kami? He was planning on taking her, throwing her in a giant aquarium filled with piranhas, like deadly carnivorous fish, and just kind of watching her swim around for a little while. That's all he was planning on doing with Kami, which is absolutely disgusting and abhorrent, but the fact he's willing to spend 500 million just for that, you know? Like, that's not even, like, 500 million is like a sneeze to the freaking world nobles. They don't even care, right? Here's something else that's even worse. When the world government, well, I don't know how you compare, like, throwing Kami into a freaking giant tank of piranhas. I don't know if this is worse, but it's still pretty damn bad, alright? So, devil fruits are really rare in One Piece. Like, I know every arc we get encounter, like, a whole bunch of new devil fruits and everything like that, but if you actually got your hands on a devil fruit and you were going to sell it on the market, like, it would be worth a lot. Like, you couldn't just say, I have a devil fruit here. I'm like, devil fruit, I'll only give you 100 berries for that. No, any devil fruit, even one that isn't that great, ones that have been cataloged and be like, oh yeah, that's the jacket fruit. Alright, well, it's still a devil fruit. Give me the power, right? If it's an uncategorized fruit, it might even be higher because you have no idea what it would be. But anyway, devil fruits, I'm assuming that the world nobles purchase a lot of them because they use them to basically just feed to their slaves for their amusement, i.e., the Boa siblings. That's right. Boa Hancock, Marigold, and Sandersonia, love you, girl, they all received their devil fruit powers because they were force-fed them by the world nobles. Alright? So I'm going to go over this again. The Kuja sisters got captured by the world government, brought to Marijois, and were slaves there until Fisher Tiger freed all of them. But while they were slaves, the world nobles thought, oh, you know what would be a good idea, brother? Oh, what would be a good idea? Oh, we should take these devil fruits that we purchased for hundreds and hundreds of millions of berries, and we should feed them to our slaves and see what kind of power they get for our own sick amusement. Oh, that's great, brother. Ha ha! So they're like, you can imagine that. You can imagine them going to auctions and like, we found this rare devil fruit. I'm like, I will take it for 2 billion. Oh, I'm gonna feed this to my slave. It's gonna be so funny watching what happens to them. You know, like, that's the kind of shit they do. Like, every day this goes on at Marijois. Like, every single freaking day. All right? So the fact that it's like, oh yeah, Doflamingo takes the ransom, and he's like, we have a couple payments, a couple of the world nobles, heavenly tribute. I mean, hell, Doflamingo's an asshole, but in this case, I'm like, all right, yeah, good, take more, get the money away from them. I mean, Doflamingo's just gonna use it to run his own criminal empire, but I mean, it's a little bit better than I guess what the freaking world nobles were doing with it. Not really. Doflamingo also had a giant slave empire going on with all of the toys and everything, but just more money getting taken away from the world nobles in this one particular instance is any good thing. And I cannot wait until Dragon's revolution finally comes through and the Tenryubito system falls, because you know what's gonna happen? They're just gonna like raid the freaking vaults of the world nobles and find just like, it's gonna be like Scrooge McDuck. It's just gonna be just giant piles of gold that you could just like swim in, and you're gonna take that money and they're going to give it back to all of the nations that paid the heavenly tribute, because that's their, and they don't, probably for a while there, because the world government is still going to be in effect. Like, the dragon does not want to completely abolish the world government. He likes the framework, the structure of that system. Just the world nobles that are the problem. The structure could still exist. So what I think is going to happen, though, is after the world nobles get taken out of power and they elect, I don't know how that would work, maybe Dragon would head it up, or the other kings would just roll by committee. I'm not really sure how that would work. You got to get rid of the Gorosei and Eam, obviously, as well as the world nobles. Once you get rid of all of them, you have some other kind of a ruling body, right? And there might still be a tax issued, because if there is a world government, they might have to still pay taxes. It won't be nearly as much as the heavenly tribute. But for the first few, for probably the first few decades, they probably won't have anything, because it's just like, look, you guys don't have to pay taxes for a while, because all of the backlog of all this money, we're going to return it to you, and so you're going to have, all this, gold that the world nobles have been hoarding up here for, hundreds and hundreds and literally 800 years. It's literally probably more money than they could even spend, really. It's probably like, hey, Daddy, look, my giant diamond pile, it's big enough to fit 3 elephants in now. It can only fit 2 elephants last year. Oh, that's good, son. Aw. It's probably some crap like that, just enough money that Nami would just pass out immediately, and then she'd wake back up and then pass out again, from all the money that's in Marijois that, the Revolutionary Army would get their hands on if they actually abolished the system, and they would return it to the people, So I can't wait for that day in One Piece. That day is coming. But anyway, that's the whole deal with the Heavenly Tribute. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Signing out. Later, everyone. Heads or tails? Heads or tails? Call it. Heads being the 4-leaf clover, and tails being the other thing that says just 4-leaf clover for good luck. Okay, cool. Anyway, ready? It's heads! Congratulations! You win a pat on the shoulder. Good job. Good job, buddy. Good job. Later.